Welcome to Film Phreeks. This is Justin Llewellyn.
And Eddie Williams.
And before we get into our reviews tonight, there's actually something that we wanted to discuss with our current viewers that have been watching our channel. So me and Eddie decided to come up with a new rating system because after looking back to some of our reviews we've done the last couple of years, we felt like we wanted to kind of change some things around because originally we were working on a 1 to 10 scale of how we rank films out of 10. But looking back on some reviews that we did, we felt like we wanted to probably come up with something more kind of simple and a lot more progressive for us to, a lot more easier for us to do as far as when we rank films.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they're pretty, everybody who, does reviews on their channels, there's always like a starting point and then you work your way into making big changes so you can get into more of a better flow. And, the 1 out of 10 scale was something him and I just, it was the first, it's pretty much, I like to call it amateur score, where pretty much when you're a beginner and you're trying to get into the whole movie reviews, a lot of people tend to go to that or go to some other simpler formats like, 5-star ratings or just simple stuff like that. And like he said, it's something I've been growing concerned over the last 2 out of 4 years him and I have been doing this, but this year, just the way like some of the movies are contradicting on our scores, obviously 9.5 is always going to be higher than 9. And I feel like there's so many different scores going from, you're talking about going from 1 to 10. That's a lot of scores, especially when you add 0.5s into the equation. So we decided to talk it over and kind of upgrade our system. Now, it's not going to be the most originalist thing, but we thought it would be more simple, and it would give him and I a better opportunity when we come to the end of the year list that we can pretty much not worry about the number aspect, to where we can kind of go like, oh, fuck, I like that movie, but I gave it, a 9 and not a 9.5. Stuff like that. So we thought we'd make a better system, and we talked it over to make sure that it was something that would work.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what we wanted to pretty much go over. Is basically when we give our new ratings that we're going to talk about, they're going to describe us. They're going to describe how we feel about the film overall. That includes basically both their pros and cons, if necessary, and how we kind of feel overall with the premise. Because when we were doing our pros and cons in some of our other reviews, I noticed that we did kind of leave some things out. Well, when there were movies that we really loved, but that we pretty much had lower than how we rated it, it felt like we weren't giving it, like we weren't speaking to it overall. We were just giving it how we just feel on top of its pros and cons. So we're going to look at films just in a more simpler grading system that we can see as by itself. So that way, if there are flaws present to a film, we can at least address that in the grading itself. So to basically get this started with our new rating.
Oh wait, before we start that, one quick note: because him and I did the 1 through 10 scale last year, when we come up in the next few weeks, him and I, we usually do ours later than a lot of people. We're going to do our best top 10 and our worst top 10 list, and then we're going to introduce something new, but I'm not going to mention it right now. Well, when it comes to time, I'll mention the new thing we're going to possibly do. But the best and worst list, because we did it in numbers last year, we're going to stay the 1 through 10 system for this year's, from last year's for the first list. But when 2019 comes, and we'll start doing the new system.
Yes. And so in regards to the new system that we're going to be using, we've basically, it's going to be similar to how, how other reviewers, we notice that other reviewers sometimes like to go by letters. You'll have A, B, C, D, and F. Well, we figured we'd have something similar to that, but instead of having the minus and plus signs, instead we just give it that one grade. Whether it's an A, or for example, if it's a B, we just give it just that one grade. And then we can basically include some things that we kind of didn't like too much, or we did actually, and what we actually loved about it. So, to kind of go over this, basically, how we put it was, instead of going by a lettering, we wanted to have ratings that are basically similar to those types, but we just want to describe it differently. So, starting with, we wanted to come up with a more original idea, so to speak, so we decided to go ahead and come up with our 5 ones. So
without further ado, we're going to give you guys right now our new grading system.
all right, so our new rating system will go like this. So for movies that are considered like an A, like in a letter, that we're going to call it phenomenal grade. And then for B, we're going to be basically movies that are very good, so to speak. We're going to call them compelling. And
those
then,
are films that are kind of like B, which they're good films, but they might have some flaws to it, which knocked it out of an A.
yeah. And then when we get to C grade, which is basically kind of the average, so to speak, we're going to call it the average Joe rating. And then for D, we're going to basically kind of, as it stands, it actually stands for disaster. Because these are films that are really notorious for being very bad, but they're not like they're not as, they at least have a couple of redeeming quality things to them, to the point that they're not considered completely unwatchable, but they're still pretty bad. And then the last one we're going to use is similar to an F rating. We call this one flatline, which is basically describe a film that's so bad to the point that it has little to no redeeming qualities at all, and would actually be in our worst of list.
So basically what he's saying is if, when we get, like, say for The Revenant, that was a 10 out of 10 film we used to do when we went to the old rating, we would say, I'm going to give The Revenant a phenomenal score on the Film Phreeks meter, and we're going to be showing a meter on our page, and you're going to see which, starts out high, and it's going to show what, the colors, kind of like a meter you see, and it's kind of going to go, where the arrow's going.
Yeah.
It's going to show where it's at, yeah.
Yeah, so what we're going to do with this meter that we're going to make is, on our videos and then also in our reviews that you'll see, they're going to show the meter that will have, like, green. It'll be color-coded. So the green will represent the phenomenal grade. The blue will represent the compelling grade, which is the equivalent of B. And then the third one, which is the C-type grade, which is average Joe, will be yellow. And then the D rating, which is the disaster rating that we call it, that will be orange. And then the last one, which is one of the most common ones, is red, which will be the F grade, which is basically flatline. So that's how we're going to.
So another hint, like we watched Phoenix Forgotten. If you guys watched our review, check it out. We hated that movie, and to us, it would be, we give that a flatline on the Film Phreeks meter.
Yeah. Because we can still, I mean, keep in mind there are films that can have that seem like they could either be a D or F type of grade if you look at them in a letter format. But usually when we grade a film an F type rating where it's a flatline grade, for example, we look at it as saying, like, okay, there might be one little thing you might probably like about the film, but the rest of it is completely unwatchable, so to speak.
Yeah. See, if there's one thing you might like about it, and then the rest of it's bad, that still, to me, would still be considered F. To get a D, it would have to be, like, at least maybe 2 things, or, 2-3 things, and then the rest be bad.
Yeah. Kind of like how we described The Mummy. Like, there were some things about that film that, little things here and there that were that were decent, but the rest of the film was terrible.
Just like Phoenix Forgotten, I hated that film to death. It is, you'll see my worst of list. Fucking hated that film. It was beyond flatlined. But I do give it small little credit for trying to do that 90s throwback videotape from back in the olden days where you carry the big old fucking block ass, the things. But, I mean, like I said, you can find maybe one thing or something that's still an F.
Yeah. So that's going to be pretty much how we're going to do our new rating system. So for everyone that's been new to the channel and everything, this is also a good opportunity for everyone to look forward in the future, or going forward for 2018 films that we will be reviewing that will use this rating system. And for those of you who are also curious about our rating systems, let us know in the comments below of what you guys think about it. And if you like what you see here, you can also feel free to like and subscribe to our channel, and check out our website at filmphreeks.com, and we'll be seeing you in our upcoming reviews. We'll see you guys later.
Later.